So you're saying there is food poisoning, but not through a bacterial source?
Right, it's from chemical contamination.
Oh, okay, like the industrial chemical.
Because see, the medical profession and health departments, which is run by medical professionals, they always look for bacteria. They look for organisms. They don't look for empty chemistry. They don't look for poison, industrial poisons like I do. So they completely ignore what's causing the problem. Again, you have chemicals that come into the body that destroy tissue. It's like I go around and I have a gun and I shoot some people in the room. They're going to rot. So all of a sudden we have bacteria and worms which come and help degenerate them. The worms and the bacteria that are going to now degenerate the body didn't cause the problem. The problem was the gun that brought the bullet in that contaminated the body, destroyed the body. So you see the difference?
Sorry. I had an experience about 6 months ago when I was in Chicago, and I had vomited in, I don't even remember how many years ago I had vomited. And I thought that I ate some bad food because we had so much food that it didn't all fit in the refrigerator when we put it outside. This is January in Chicago.
Cooked food?
It was cooked food, and we set it out on a fire escape because it was cold. And I had eaten some of that also. I mean, I don't know if that's why I vomited, but after a couple of days, I was up all night vomiting. I hadn't vomited since I was a little kid.
Well, bacterial food poisoning can come from cooked food. Like the Jack in the Box food. Like the Jack in the Box, that was cooked food. All epidemics have come from cooked food, not raw food.
Okay,
I'll blame it.
So
not
food poisoning could come from cooked food.
Yeah, because you've taken the cooked food, and then the bacteria that grows on it's going to be diseased. Just like we grow, like the Pottinger cats, 10 years, 900 cats. Some of them grown on cooked food, some of them grown on raw food. The raw food cats had absolutely no disease. The cooked food cats all had disease. The more processed the food, the worse the diseases. Howl with rats, same thing. Cooked food, all had diseases. Raw food, rats, no diseases. Interesting thing he did, he found that in the Pottinger tests over that 10-year period, that the cats all lived 1/3 less life than the cats that ate raw. But the rats all lived the same age. There was no decrease in longevity. So he beat this around in his head, because these rats live 3 years. So minimum for one test is a 3-year period. So he's beating his brains out for a year, getting ready to do the test again, but he wants to make sure he understands everything. Now, why did these rats live? So he looked for enzyme content that would be different in the liver, in the bone marrow, everything. Couldn't find anything different. And he noticed one thing. The rats that were eating cooked foods all ate shit. They ate the feces of other rats. So he said, oh, this E. coli, this bacteria may be missing. So when they eat it, they gain it.
Wow.
So he put a screen down for the next round 3-year tests. And guess what? How long the rats lived? They ate cooked food. 1/3 less longevity. They lived 2 years instead of 3 years.
Wow.
So eat shit and live. That's the conclusion. And I'm not kidding. Every animal species in the world eats shit except for civilized humans. And who's the sickest? First time I heard of eating shit was in Georgia, Russia. It was a National Geographic episode back in the 60s or early 70s. I think it was the late 60s. They have this shot, you see this dark-haired woman with blue eyes, and she's got this pretty smile on her face. You see she's very petite. She's chewing on something with a big smile. And you pull back and you see this buffalo tail swishing behind her, like this behind her head. And she keeps pulling at it. She's got something in her hand. You still can't tell what it is because the hand, you know, his fingers are in front of whatever it is she's holding. She's just munching away, swallowing, another bite. Pull out, she's kneeling in front of this patty that's as big as her whole stomach. And she's eating at it. Eating at it. Well, incredibly healthy. These people lived to 150 years old.
Wow.
In Thailand, they go through, because there's not a lot of meat there, they go through and they go through the buffalo dung after 3 days of being out there, and they pick out these beetles. They look like Japanese beetles, and they eat them. Now I've got one of my patients is a Thai girl who was brought up as a farm girl, you know, in northern Thailand near Laos. She now lives on Koh Samui, an island in the south. And I just spent a week with them. And, you know, she shares all of her food with me. Let me tell you, it's primitive. She goes out in her garden and she picks off the beetles and just puts them in, you know, a bottle like this, as a bottle like this, as a bottleneck on it. She just throws them in there and then she go around live. These things are still crawling. And, and it's just so natural for her. And she's incredibly, you know, she's like 50 years old, and she's incredibly vibrant and strong and healthy, you know. So she loves the diet. She understands it entirely. And her boyfriend, who's American, you know, who's been on the diet only 5 years, you know, he watches her and can't do it yet. I can't do that yet, you know. But he eats everything raw on the diet.
So those insects actually taste good, do they think? I mean, do they like...
Oh, yeah, they're pretty crunchy and crispy, you know. I mean,
Texture, yeah.
you know, I mean, grasshoppers just taste like grass that they're eating. You know, worms that I had a girlfriend who grew up in Peru, and you know, they didn't have much meat, so they would go around collecting caterpillars and worms and eating them. So, you know, a lot of times they would cook them, but as children they didn't, because they wanted to eat them because they wanted to share them. If they found a worm or a caterpillar, they got it down quickly because old brothers and sisters were going to share that. They were going to share it, you know. So, and they would just pop them like that. So, I mean, I'm with this girl, and after, you know, I made it a natural thing to eat these kind of things. She'd go into a grocery store, you know, a health food store, and see a worm, you know, on a you know, corn, ear of corn. She knows what's going to happen to that worm. She'll pop it, eat it like that. I said, what does it taste like? She said, corn. And it does, like popcorn. That's what it tastes like. It tastes like what they eat, corn. And it tastes pretty good. But all this protein. There's a tribe that they're hunters, and they will take the meat and slice it in long slices, narrow, and about that thick, maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. They let the flies lay their larvae all over it, and then they eat the maggots on the 5th day, right before, you know, that night, that day they'll go into cocoon and become flies. And they eat them, right? And that's all they eat. They never eat the meat. They only eat the maggots. They have no disease. They can run like 30 miles an hour. They're incredibly healthy individuals. And that's all they eat is maggots.
Where's that?
It's in Borneo.
Okay.
And I think there's some tribes in Australia that do it too.
Excuse me, how does the body digest something that's alive and swallow it?
Oh, well, then the hydrochloric acid will just dissolve it.
And if you don't have enough hydrochloric, I suppose if you're healthy, you have enough.
Well, unless you're like me, you know, I don't have much in my stomach, but throughout the intestines you secrete hydrochloric acid. A lot of vegetarians argue, you know, that that carnivores have 15 times more hydrochloric acid than we do in the stomach only. Well, we secrete it throughout the intestines where they don't. We secrete it all through the small intestine. So our digestion, we may take 16 hours maximum to digest our meat, whereas a carnivore will digest in 10 hours. Yes.
So then if you want to reimplant the E. coli in the large bowel, wouldn't it be better to get some feces from a carnivore animal than an herbivore, since they have to digest protein so much, like a healthy lion or whatever?
It probably would be, but where are you going to get it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Probably would be. I thought the same thing, but
Yeah.
buffalo feces works. What we do is we have an Amish farmer who supplies us with it, and he gives us the whole bowel, and he cut it off like a sausage, wrap it. So it contains, so you get to eat the slice of the bowel along with the dung at the same time, so that you can really heal and regenerate the bowel.
Is that Morris Ranch? Or not Morris
I
Ranch?
can't tell.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's not anybody you know. We've got a private one for that.
Okay.
It just does that.
If you ever need research money, you should do Fear Factor.
Everybody says that. They don't want an old man. They do not want an old man in there. They couldn't get enough old men that would do it with me. And then I got to put me with the youngins.
So the feces is wrapped in bowels?
Pardon?
You said the feces are wrapped in bowels?
Yeah.
So the animal is still in there.
So I got a lot of clients who eat it, especially with cancer. I explain that in the recipe book. I'm explaining more in the detoxification book when it comes out. So that bacteria in the colon is very important for synthesizing B vitamins and amino acids to strengthen the system even more. So healing takes place better. 90% of healing happens in the sleep state. Some people can get into a healing state without going into the sleep state. But it usually has to be somebody who really knows how to meditate and get into an alpha state or deeper than alpha state to be able to do that. Most people just have to go to sleep. I am able to go on 1.5 hours sleep a day, 10 minutes at a time. I've done it for up to 20 days at a time. And then when I start sleeping normally, I still don't sleep more than 5 hours. When I am in an intense healing state, I still will sleep 8 to 10 hours. But that's not very often. And when I do that, I pile up on the meat. I will make sure they eat 2 to 3 pounds of meat a day. Because I want to provide all the protein necessary to regenerate as many cells as possible. I have that kind of activity happening in my body. And like I was saying earlier, this diet does not cause detoxification. It only allows your body to detoxify properly and heal properly. If you're putting denatured food in your body, whether it's cooked or dehydrated or chemically treated, you're poisoning the system while it's already trying to detoxify. So it's going to be using a lot of the nutrients that you consume, which is very little, to help neutralize the toxins that are coming into your body and not addressing a lot of those that you're trying to detoxify with. So there's a lot more symptoms, a lot more pain if you're not doing the diet when you're detoxifying. That's why people who have a severe pneumonia on this diet can absolutely work. The only thing that can shut people down that I've seen is meningitis. Either spinal or cerebral meningitis, and that's because of the headaches. Otherwise, you could function. So this diet allows most people to function during detoxification. So remember, this diet doesn't cause it, any kind of detoxification. Your body does the detoxifying. If you get some nutrients, it says, oh, now I can do the detoxification work I want to. Now that you're eating that, indirectly the diet is causing it. But it's really not. It's just facilitating your body doing the detoxification. And the diet really is not causing the detoxification. The cause of the detoxification was the poisons that are already stored in the body that your body needs to get rid of. And that's what a lot of people don't understand and become afraid. You know, everybody's detoxing, having ill symptoms and everything, and all of a sudden they go on the diet and things get better, and all of a sudden it happens again. Oh, it's the diet. It's like, hello? It happened before, you're going through it before. Those toxins that you're discarding were in your body before the diet. You're not eating those toxins now, so why is your body flushing out those toxins? It's certainly not the diet that's putting the toxins into your system, so you can't say that it's the diet causing your toxicity, your detoxification. So you just have to keep on point and keep rational. A lot of people panic. A lot of people panic. Just can't go to that panic stage. Just have to stay focused and solid. Let it happen. Enjoy it happening. Picture all the garbage that's leaving your body that means you'll have less severity of disease. And when it's all gone, there'll be no disease. I mean, that'd be nice. I've got 18 years to go. I've only been doing this diet eating meat on a daily basis for 22 years. It takes 40 years, so I have 18 years to go. Hell, I'm almost 60. I've never felt better in my life, and I get better every day. Of course, I have some periods of detoxification. But, you know, I get healthier and stronger every day. I mean, how many people 60 years old can look and feel like this when they were dying at 21? Multiple, 4 kinds of cancers, plus diabetes and heart disease.
It's great. Awesome.
So this can do it. You just have to not panic. And also you have to enjoy it. There's some people that need to experience disease. It may be their part of their, journey in life to experience disease, and that's okay. And don't beat yourself up for it. The disease will do enough of that. And that's okay. I have no judgment about it. I mean, I chose my disease to learn what I've learned. And it's been good for me, so I took advantage of having the disease. So anybody can make good of anything. So enjoy it. Enjoy your disease or health, whichever you choose. A lot of people say, well, what if I do it 60% of the time? And I say, does that ruin everything that I've done? And I say, if you only ate one raw food in your entire life, you'd be adding health to your body. That's good. So do as much as you do. And that's good. It doesn't wipe out everything. It adds to your vitality and happiness. Okay. So we talked about the fats, we talked about the proteins, and we've talked about the carbs. Now enzymes. Everybody's missing enzymes. Because every time you cook something, you've destroyed 100% of the enzymes if it's gone over 118 degrees. Cooked over 118 degrees. And everything's cooked over 118 degrees. Everything that you see in a supermarket, except for the produce section, everything is heated well over 118 degrees. So, how do we replace these enzymes? In the body, every time you eat something cooked, the pancreas would manufacture these enzymes, which were like a couple of thugs, mafia guys going out, and they go up to each cell and say, want some of your enzymes, want some protein, want some vitamins, a little bit. And they just go around collecting from everybody. It's transported back to the pancreas. The pancreas readdresses them, sends them out into the digestive tract to digest the food that has no enzymes. Now the medical scientific community says, hey, these enzymes grow on trees. Doesn't matter if you cook food, Sally found all of them. All of a sudden they appear from nowhere. It's like money growing on trees. It's bullshit. Your body's leaching them from your body. Because if they grow on trees, you wouldn't have the disease. You wouldn't deteriorate with age. And everybody's deteriorating with their age because of these deficiencies. And it just keeps leaching more and more. So how do you reverse that leaching? How do you add to your bank account to resupply that enzymes that are in every cell in your body. Vegetable juice. Minimum of 2 a day to handle your daily needs and start resupplying the others. You go 3 to 4 a day and you're really adding to that. Unless you're eating them fermented and then you're going to heavy detoxification. But that's adding bacteria which are missing from cooked vegetables.
Fermented vegetable juice?
Fermented vegetable juice. So it adds bacteria that help you break down those resins that I talk about, which cause all hardening in the body, or a lot of hardening in the body.
How would you ferment your vegetable juice?
You just let it
Let it
stay
sit long
long.
enough.
At room temperature or in the fridge?
No, in the fridge.
So
Or
like
out
when it gets
back.
thick,
Either way,
when it gets thick, it's fermenting vegetable juice?
when it starts tasting badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separate.
Yeah.
Separated.
So you go, let go, 5, 7 days. Have one a day.
1 pint?
No, 1 cup.
Okay.
Not unless you really want to do some heavy detoxification.
Okay.
No. If you're going to do something, you're going to push detoxification, do it lightly. In fact, you might just want to start with a half a cup and see how you do. And only maybe a couple a week if you're going to do that. Don't do many.
Yeah.
You
How
just
many-
want to do it mildly.
How many days before you say green vegetable juice would be, fermented? 7, 10, what?
No, about 5 days, 5, 7 days.
Okay. That's without
That's
honey.
enough. Let me tell you, that's enough.
That's without honey in it.
No, you can have honey in it.
Okay.
Even with honey in it. Because with honey in it, it only lasts 3 days. Without honey in it, it lasts a day and a half, 2 days. And it starts turning. With the honey in it, it takes, about 3, it takes about 4 days, 5 days. 5 days it's right. 7 days it's very good. 8th day there's too much alcohol and too much vinegar in it. And you start having gas and it starts destroying the digestive enzymes. Because the alcohol starts becoming too great. The acids become too great. And then it'll damage digestion and you start having farts. You may not smell so good. Stop digesting your eggs well. And then you really got some sulfur farts.
What about when the milk goes old and it starts to, it's like a wine or an alcohol milk? Is that good or not?
Well, I'll tell you a story. It's interesting you asked that. I told you to stop asking questions until it was all over. But this is last year at this time, I was in Vietnam, and there's no vegetable juice there. In Thailand and Cambodia, they have all kinds of stands where they make vegetable juice. I can get celery, cucumber juice, even on the streets. They have their machines, they plug it into some plug nearby. And, they have juice, people all over the place doing these. But in Vietnam, I couldn't find any, but they had nuc mia, which is, they have these sugar canes, these pressers, they go in and squeeze the sugar cane juice out. And I was getting mighty thirsty because I went, 3 days without any juice, and I'm looking at this nuc mia and I'm saying, oh, it's high in sugar, this is gonna, I have a little bit. So, it was like dirt cheap. It cost me $0.10 for a cup, something like this. And drank a little bit of it, a little bit more, a little bit more. I had a whole cup, no sugar reaction. So I said, how can this be? It reacts just as if there's no sugar in it, like celery juice. No sugar reaction. Next day, I had 16 ounces. Within 20 minutes, no sugar reaction. So I said, okay, it must be in the fibers where the sugar comes from. Because they boil away all the oil, which becomes the molasses, and what's left is the cellulose that turns into a sugar. So in the juice, I'm not really getting the cellulose sugar. I'm just getting the juice, which seems to be just like celery, which has very little carbohydrate or none in it. So I thought, oh, this is really trouble. So I was eating three cups a day. I'd have them juice it for me. I had my jars, I had 12-ounce jars. I had 3 12-ounce jars, and I drink 3 of those a day. No sugar reaction. It was great. It was not the tastiest stuff in the world, so they usually grind it, you know, it's huge metal cylinders with these, you know, odd-shaped things and put it through, and they just crush it. And they just put it through. They just keep putting it through, putting it through. They'll fold it over and keep putting it through to juice them really well. And they'll take a half of a lime and put it in there, you know, so it gives it a little bit of better flavor. And I decided, oh my God, I was a sugarholic. I used to steal candy when I was a diabetic because I couldn't keep my sugar level up. So I used to steal boxes of chocolate-covered cherries, and I'd go through them in 40 minutes. I was fat, very fat, but I was just addicted to the sugar. And I would steal, you know, Baby Ruth bars and all that. I just eat the candy all the time. I thought, you know, I can ferment this stuff. I can ferment this stuff. And I'll cause a detoxification. I'll get rid of some of that deep tissue sugar. So I fermented it like I do the vegetable juice once in a while, and man, I had diarrhea, you wouldn't believe. I started having hives that were some this big, and they were itching, and I would take, you know, I had to stay in the room for 3 days. My hotel room for 3 days, it was so bad. And I took tomatoes, and I'd rub tomatoes over it. I'd take the tomato and vinegar baths, and, you know, everything to get rid of that itching. And even if I didn't scratch them, they turned into scabs. And they were just dropping off. Crazy. And that went on for, you know, it went on for weeks, about 6 weeks. But 3 days it was unbearable where I had to stay in a hotel room. But I got my first parasite. I got a tapeworm from it. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, the only tapeworms in the world are amongst usually children and adults who live only on carbohydrates, mostly grains. People who live on meats usually don't get tapeworms. You know, it's the bloated kids eating all this cereal. You know, that these, you know, these philanthropists who say, oh, we've got to help these children, so we'll buy them garbage cereal food. And it's totally something they're not supposed to be eating, and those are the kids that all get the tapeworms. So this is the first parasite that I've been able to entertain that I know about in my lifetime. And, you know, I like parasites. They can eat the toxicity, the degenerative tissue, 5 times faster than your body can dissolve it with a virus. Because viruses are not alive. You can't kill a virus, it's not alive. And they don't self-propagate. You know, they don't self-clone because they're not alive. The body makes solvents. It's a chemical that the body makes to help break down tissue, to dissolve tissue. So parasites work very quickly to eat that degenerative tissue. They can eat 100 times their weight in a day. Bacteria can do about 50 times their weight in a day. And the animals who had parasites on this diet, they got well faster. They kept their parasites for maybe 6 months to 9 months, and then the parasites went away. So I had this, I noticed, you know, about 6 or 7 days after I had the fermented sugarcane juice, that I had a section of a tapeworm in my feces. Now I always check my feces. I always look to see what's going on. And I saw the section, I said, I have a parasite. I have a parasite. I have a parasite. I finally get help. Because after chemo and radiation, it made my body so toxic that no parasite can live in my body. It gets poisoned within the tissue that it eats. So this was a sign that I was healthy enough to have a worm. Of course, it was not an internal worm. Basically, it was still in an oxidation system in the bowels, in the small intestines, in the bowel. But still, I had a parasite at first. So I was very happy. And then all of a sudden, it was 3 weeks later, I had this craving for an onion. So I ate almost a whole onion with a meat meal. 2 hours later, I had this diarrhea, shooting diarrhea. And here was 30 feet of that tapeworm. And I said, oh no.
30 feet?
30 feet.
Whoa!
Oh no, I just shat him out. I just destroyed him. I killed him. He was helping me. You know, and my hives got worse. You know. So here that parasite had been eating that high carbohydrate that I was detoxifying. You know, for causing more damage. So I thought, oh darn, you know, he's gone. And then about a week later, I saw some pieces again. I said, oh, you killed him. And then about 6 weeks later, I went and had a bowel movement. 40 feet of them came out, and that was the end. But all the hives had stopped. All that detoxification was over. So he was in there as long as I needed him for that sugar detoxification. Because it probably would have damaged my intestines if he hadn't been there to eat it. So I was very pleased and very happy.
That would have taken a long time to grow that, wouldn't it?
That was just last year.
So
I just
you
got
got
rid of them
the
about
infection.
last December.
That thing grew pretty fast.
Oh yeah, oh they grow very fast if they have a lot enough to eat. Yeah. So, what I was going to say, you asked me about fermented milk. Well, I decided to do the same thing with fermented milk that I did with the vegetable juice. Let it go till it really got high in alcohol. And let me tell you, my intestines still haven't recovered. I never had gas on this diet unless I would eat too much nut butter. And after I did that, let me tell you, it destroyed my enzymes, it damaged a lot of my system. And I still get gas no matter what I eat now. Pardon? Yeah, and what it did, it started tearing my bone system apart. So, you know, if you'd seen me a year ago, my hips, this whole area in here, were 4 inches larger than they are now. So was my chest and the whole chest cavity. So it just took my bones and it just whittled them down.
What? Is that because it was doing detox or damage?
Yeah, heavy detoxification.
Wow.
You know, obviously milks build the bones a lot. So when it just did a hell of a number on my bones, so I had weak, you know, sore bones like I was having bone cancer again. And finally I got over it a few months ago. But I still have gas that I didn't have prior to that. You let it go until it separates, and then you open the... When I opened it, the alcohol actually burned my nose. It turned my eyes red and my nose started running. That's how high the alcohol content was. Pardon?
When you do cheese,
You don't let it get that high in alcohol. There are stages where you let it go
so
through.
it's like long time cheese.
Yeah, but I drank all of the fluid with the alcohol in it. I drank all of it. I drank 3 cups in one day, which was very stupid. But I thought I was Superman again.
So you obviously wouldn't repeat that, you would do it at a much,
Oh,
Titrate a little bit
yeah.
differently.
Like in the recipe book, I'm going to say half a cup if you're going to do it, not 3 cups in a day.
How long will it stay when it's fermented like that? What are days?
Oh, it'll stay for months like that.
No, but after what period of time did you drink it? After
Oh, it was after about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
so would you have also not fermented it quite as long to have lower alcohol content also? So both
Yeah.
too much and too concentrated.
Yeah. Destroy too many enzymes.
Right.
And digestion is still slower for me. So you can cause harm by trying to do too much detoxification. But that's part of my life. I'm experiencing it so you guys can do it easier. You know, I'm my own first guinea pig. And then I use other people. But the good thing about this is that I've learned where harm comes, so nobody's ever harmed in my experience. Not anymore. Early stages of it. But I was too ignorant to know what I was doing. So, after you have the fruit meal, which is your one detoxification meal, then you want juice again. And really, this is the last juice that you need. But if you want another before you go to bed, it might make you feel, you know, if you're not a diabetic type or have a hypoglycemia, if you're a hyperactive type and highly acid, it can make you feel even more alkaline and calm by having another one before you go to bed.
It's a veggie juice?
Vegetable juice. Pardon? It depends upon the individual. It could be anywhere from a half a cup to 12, 16 ounces. If you're a big person, it's a hot day, you've gone running for the day or played basketball, 16 ounces is good. In fact, I have some guy who's 6'6" and plays basketball. He'll have a whole quart after that. But he needs it. Big body, lots of perspiration. I noticed that one of my latest cancer clients has been on the diet for 2 years, and her perspiration smells, because I go, take a look at her every 2 weeks, and she's bedridden. And her perspiration in her armpits, I check the swelling there, and the lymph glands are gone down 50% now, but it looks like she's metastasized to the liver. It's finished here, it's going down here, so just hoping she can survive during all of it. She kept her weight up. Because she was one of those girls that allowed herself to gain, like 50 pounds before she started going through the heavy part of it. So now that she can't eat, she's not losing too much weight, and she has enough to buffer it. So hoping that, by the time it finishes passing through her, because cancer is like a cold or a flu. It runs its course, dissolves that dead tissue, and is gone, as long as you can maintain. Pain is too severe, you can't eat. That's her problem right now. But, Alonzo, like I talked about in the first book, she would go into a vomiting spell during that period where she couldn't eat, and detoxifying, dissolving those dead cells so much that she was vomiting 11 times a day. And she'd get down to 68 pounds, skin and bone. She's only 5'2", 5'2.5". We get down to 63 pounds, I think, 62 pounds, I think, when she got the lightest. And I thought for sure she was going to die many times. But all of a sudden the body would stop. She would start eating like a bad person. Consume 3 times more food than I could, at a sitting. And then she'd gain all that weight, and she'd go through it again, so it would stop. And she made it through. So that's what happens to most people if they don't panic. And they just pass through it. It'll run its course no matter how severe it is. If you run to the medical profession, you count on being your end. So anyway, her body, when I check the glands on her arms or in her crotch, it smells just like celery juice. So, because if I go to these people who come to me with advanced cancer, they reek terrible. The odor is so bad, permeates the whole house. And hers isn't doing that at all. It's a nice, fragrance. I mean, the pussing on her right nipple doesn't smell very good, but you have to get close to it to smell it. So after you have that third juice, then again about an hour later, hour and a half later, no more than 2 hours later, your second meat meal. Now most people should be having a pound of meat a day, which is 1.25 cups to 1.5 cups of meat. And when I'm talking about meat, I'm talking about any flesh food. I'm not talking just about beef. So total altogether, minimum of 1 pound of flesh food in a day. If you're a diabetic or you have hypoglycemia, it'd be better to break your meat meals into 3 meat meals. So you have juice an hour later, and don't let it be more than an hour later, because it's too much time lapse, your blood starts eating itself. So it should be 1 hour after that first juice in the morning to have your meat meal. Then, then your milkshake, then a juice, then another meat meal, and then your fruit meal. Or the diabetics or hypoglycemics could go juice, meat, fruit meal. Juice again, meat. So you're having 3 meat meals that way. It's better to break it up. Because the liver, the pancreas doesn't secrete, doesn't utilize, and is very active, so it's not changing over enzymes as quickly. And you just want to make sure it's spread out. The meat's spread out a little bit. If you're diabetic or at hypoglycemia, if you have a sugar problem, you have 2 meat meals. So it's juice, meat, maybe a milkshake or milk or eggs by themselves, then a juice, then fruit meal with fat, then juice, and then meat. And in the evening, if you're a hyperactive person, you might have another vegetable juice for you have had. Anybody could have another milkshake or milk with extra cream and honey, or down eggs, Rocky style, or Aajonus style, where you're sucking them out. And then set your alarm for 5 hours after you go to sleep. If it takes you 50 minutes to go to sleep, set your alarm for 5 hours and 15 minutes. Set your alarm for 5 hours after you sleep. So you don't sleep more than 5 hours. After 5 hours, even if you were 700 pounds, red blood cells start eating each other because the protein level drops to nil. So the red cells become cannibalistic. So what does that cause? High contamination and toxicity. So what happens, you sleep 8 to 10 hours, you wake up and go for coffee because you're too toxic. You go for some kind of stimulant. Absolutely. Well, children usually will do it anyway. Infants, you wake up every few hours. And if you're feeding a child right, they will always wake up within 5 hours. If you've got a child that's sleeping over 5 hours, you wake that kid up because you know he's going to be cranky that day. He's going to have more of a problem. He's going to be more of a problem. So in a lot of kids, all you have to do is stick a bottle in their face, and they'll suck while they're sleeping. It doesn't matter if they're sleeping and sucking, if they're eating. So the red blood cells don't eat themselves. They get protein.
Another way, if you start this diet, then you have to do that.
Any diet you should do it. Any diet. People should be eating every 5 hours, or else the red blood cells will eat themselves, eat each other.
What do you suggest to eat when they wake up in the morning?
Down a couple of 1-2 eggs, or have a milkshake already made, or a half a cup of milk with a little extra cream and a little honey. Down it, go right back to sleep. And then you'll wake up and be entirely different. John Fox, okay? After 3 years on the diet, he said to me, I still have trouble in the mornings, 10 or 11 o'clock before I really get my energy level going. What can I do? I said, John, I've been doing these seminars at your house for 3 years. Are you waking up after 5 hours and eating something? No. Hello? Do it. Set your alarm tonight, wake up, eat something, milkshake, eggs, milk, go back to sleep. What happened the next morning? Woke up with all this vitality. Didn't have to wait till 10, 11 o'clock. It's a big difference, makes a big difference. I get that a lot. I've got it in the recipe book the same way. But there's so much information in there. Everybody should be reading those books at least once a year. There are key issues in there that may apply to you and you miss them. And everybody goes through changes. And those things may not apply today, but they apply tomorrow or the next day. So you've got to keep up with the information if you want to take care of yourself the best and have the most vitality and the most awareness and consciousness. Yes?
The vegetable juice that you mentioned is always with an egg or with a cream or just the vegetable?
Well, some people have gas if they mix because the egg is slightly acidic, and the juice is alkaline. So some people don't digest the egg and the juice when they're together. Most people do, and it's favorable to have it. If you have hypoglycemia or diabetes, you should have an egg with your vegetables. If you're not, have cream with it. Or butter. But you just have to eat the butter before you drink the juice, because the butter is not going to melt in that cold juice. You just have the butter first and then drink the juice after. But if you're having a whole tablespoon of cream in, that's a good balance, or a half a tablespoon of butter before you drink the juice. Unless you're very skinny, then you can do a lot more. So, okay, so that takes care of the pattern. We've gone from beginning to end with that. Now we'll open the question and answer session. Yes?
Thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
I have a couple questions, but I'm going to limit it to one. I've been just started juicing. I use a Green Star twin can juicer, and I'm really into juicing about 5 pounds of carrots, and then I'll my vegetable juice doing kale, parsley, cilantro, and celery, and maybe throwing a beet in there. Do you have any comment on?
What is the ratio? 50% carrot juice? Or?
No. Keeping the carrot juice. The 5 pounds will juice a quart, and I keep that separate. I don't mix that in with the other. But I really like having that carrot juice. Can I use that as my vegetable juice?
If you do, it's very high carbs, so your mind won't be as clear. Use that if you're using it late in the day. Like if you use it for the last juice, it would be okay. As long as you got, if you're having 8 ounces at a time, you need 3 to 4 ounces of cream in it. Either coconut cream or cow or dairy cream. To slow that sugar down from going too fast into the system. Sometimes it can cause a heck of a liver detoxification. And the kale and all of that's heavy detoxification. So you have to keep that 5% of the juice or under. No more than 5% of the juice. Celery, parsley, zucchini are safe juices. Even iceberg lettuce. All of that's good. A lot of people say, well, maybe my cancer patient. It's the only time I give that number anyway. Hello? Yes? Not happy at all.
Those vegetables, like
The celery,
parsley.
the celery, parsley,
Zucchini.
zucchini, and cucumber. Those are all safe juices. And iceberg lettuce. A lot of people say iceberg lettuce has no nutrients in it. Whose standards? What are you looking for? What, it doesn't look like parsley? It doesn't have a lot of chlorophyll in it? Well, what does iceberg lettuce have?
Water.
Opiates. It's the only food that we consume that has opiates in it.
Huh.
Opium. It's the only place we can get opiums to completely relax the body. Relax the nervous system, settle you down. It's the only lettuce I ever ate as a kid. I hated any other lettuce, but I'd sit there and eat a whole iceberg of lettuce at one time. Yeah. The hash is from marijuana. Yeah.
What's the best thing to regenerate the nervous system? Is it the high meat?
Yes. Well, no.
What was your question again?
What was the best thing to regenerate the brain, the nervous system, whatever?
Well, let me finish this other question.
Oh, okay.
This other thing about the juice. So, you don't want a high carbohydrate juice until your third juice. So if you want to do it, a lot of people who have jaundice means they've got a lot of bile in their system. Their bodies use bile in place of fat. to bind with toxins, so it's permeated throughout your system. Carrot juice, especially in combination with coconut cream or dairy cream, will help pull that bile out of the tissues. A lot of people say, oh, you eat a lot of carrot juice, you're turning orange. I've taken skin scrapings and you'll find no carrot juice in there. Very little carotene at all. What you find is high bile in that tissue. So that orange is the carotene from the vegetable juice taking the bile out of the system. And the bile is causing that orange look. I've seen that bile turn completely bright orange. This orange, even more orange than that lid right there. And then it will turn brown like a birthmark. And in 6 months it's gone. Especially in cancer patients. So bile has a lot of people who have cancer have a lot of bile problems. Excessive bile, it kind of melts your tissue. Bile is to digest fats, it's to break down fat. And if your body uses it in place of fat, if you're on a fat-free diet, then it's going to use bile to bind with those toxins. And then you've got a very solvent, caustic chemical in your body. It can kill a lot of cells and cause dissolution of your body. Cause a lot of disease. It can cause lupus in one person, MS in another, cancer in another. There's all kinds of problems.
What was that from? Like
Excessive bile.
excessive bile?
Body using bile in place of fats to bind with poisons in the body. So, use your carrot juice that way. But they usually suggest that people only have it more than 2 days a week. But I mean, if you want to do it, you may be one of those people that can do it once a day. And do it at that meal before, your meat meal.
What about like
But I would definitely wait 2 hours after that juice before I ate my meat meal.
What about the lady that like reverses her, people that reverse their cancer drinking tons of carrot juice?
For how long did it reverse it? For how well did she get? I mean, I met the woman. She was a basket case.
Really?
Hyperactive all the time, not clear thinking. Walker was the same way. These people could not be in a relationship. They couldn't be calm enough to be in a relationship. They were hell to their partners.
Wow.
If you want to be like that, go ahead and drink carrot juice.
Wow.
So why do you think it originally reversed it? And there was obviously an imbalance there. It provided enzymes maybe initially, but then the sugar caught up with itself.
Absolutely, and pushed it the other way.
Okay, my other question related to his question on the juicing, you say that the body essentially detoxifies. It's not the diet. So
But if you eat certain things repeatedly or in certain combinations, you can force a detoxification.
You can't force it.
Force a detoxification. I've been telling you, some things will force a detoxification, especially fermented foods.
So the kale and some of the other things that are more along the medicinal quality or whatever.
Very concentrated chemicals.
So no matter how healthy you are, your body doesn't need that type of concentrated nutrient in it.
And it will cause an imbalance.
Okay.
And make more symptoms.
So it just you shouldn't consume it, period, no matter how you're healthy.
No, you can have as long as it's under 5% of your juice.
Okay, got it.
The combination of anything that's astringent, whether you're doing mint juices, let's say you're juicing some peppermint or spearmint,
Right.
Kale, garlic, should never, any of those all put together should never be more than 5% of the juice. Or you're asking for trouble. Yes.
So you probably would not support using things like spirulina, chlorella, grasses.
Are you a fish?
Not as much.
A fish digestive tract is very complex like birds. We don't handle grains very well, and we don't handle those kind of organisms too, those kind of, algae. If they're dried, it's even worse because they cause so much leaching of enzymes in our system. However, they can be beneficial in place of clay because They are mineral concentrated, because that's mainly what algae does. The algae lives on rock. It eats rock, and it makes it just like other vegetables do. It makes it into a substance. It makes rock live, biologically alive, and fast motion. And a fast motion substance. Rock molecular structure is very slow. When the algae eats it, it becomes rapid. Goes into, then if a fish eats it, it becomes even more rapid. So you see the speed of things change. But a human cannot take rock and eat it. Usually an animal has to eat the algae before the human can eat it. Just like the vegetarian animal eats the vegetables and then we eat the vegetarian animal. That's our system. It's geared for eating meat, not vegetables, including algae. Because in my tests on feces and people who ate it, 92% of it passed without digestion. The only benefit that I saw that a lot of heavy metals were combined with it. So it acted like a sponge to pull toxins out of the blood, neurological system, and lymph system as those systems circulated through the stomach and intestines. It was like a magnet, just like I suggest people use clay to do the same thing, or cheese without honey. It'll absorb the poisons. It'll pull them out of those systems as it goes through the digestive tract and the stomachs. We really have two stomachs, the stomach and then the duodenum. You know, herbivore has 2 to 4 stomachs. We have 2. Basically, we call it 1, but they're really 2 stomachs. Hydrochloric acid dumps in one, bile dumps in the other. So, yes?
So that question about what's the most effective way to regenerate the nervous system?
Okay, eating red meat with white meat together. You know, like in my book when my son went through the brain damage, I didn't feed him beef alone. I blended or, you know, ground the beef with fish.
But white meat fish, not like salmon.
Salmon's white meat.
Salmon?
Any fowl and seafood and you know, fish are all white meat.
Okay.
Even ostrich. Ostrich meat is darker than liver, or as dark as liver,
Yeah.
but I still consider it white meat. It wasn't a good choice that I chose to call it white and red meat, but it's what I called it. So,
Okay.
fish and beef is a little bit better for the brain.
So high meat, what's the role that high meat plays? Is it accelerated repair of the body, or?
Well, it all depends. Now, the bacteria, a lot of people think, well, bacteria causes detoxification. It isn't the bacteria that causes detoxification, because the bacteria that feeds on meat does not pass through the digestive tract. It remains in the digestive tract. Bacteria doesn't pass through stomach walls. That bacteria is there to break down the meat, to pre-digest the meat. So when meat is pre-digested, you have more available proteins. So the body may use them to detoxify or to heal. It depends. For some reason, it has affinity to the nervous system and the brain. The brain has no nerves in it. It has neurons, axons, ganglions, things like that. But you can do brain surgery on somebody without anesthetic because there are no nerves in the brain. But it helps rebuild the brain and nervous system better. High meats, because I would have to assume that, come to that conclusion, because everybody who has psychological problems disappears. Problems disappear with high meat. I mean, let's say 9 out of 10 cases, even more than that, probably. Always works, always works. 1 out of 20, it may not work all the time.
Could that be too because of the increase in the B vitamin production, since that's so
B vitamin and amino acid availability.
Because that's so important, obviously, to the nervous system.
Right, absolutely. Yes.
So when the people experience, when somebody goes through a period of being nauseated to the point of vomiting, is that happening particularly on like fish when they eat that? Like you talked about fish being trigger for people vomiting more often than other types of meats, and I'm just curious if fish. And then the second question on that is
Well,
when
give me half of it first.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I have seen that people vomit more often with salmon. But it's salmon that's not ocean wild caught. It's either farmed or caught in a lake. Like I said in the recipe book, the lakes are all at least 35% polluted. The ocean is only about 4% polluted. What's your choice? Because if I get any kind of fish, and I would say half of my patients go through the same thing. If they eat wild, lake-caught salmon, they go into vomiting or diarrhea or both. I'll go into it immediately. If I eat the wild ocean caught, I can eat it every day, all day long, and never have a problem.
So then that would mean that the fish they're eating is actually toxic, and it's not just detox from the body, it's just toxic fish.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. The fish doesn't even have enough of its own fat to bind with the amount of poisons that it's getting in the lake.
Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to know is when I get to the point where I've eaten raw meat for so long and nothing cooked, and then there's less and less of an appetite for it, like I just find it less and less palatable, is that where the body's getting to the point where it's ready to like detox, like to take that life force and it's like gonna get to the point of vomiting?
Absolutely, that's a detox of chemicals. Like I say, if you take the $800 to $1,200 and have that vomit analyzed for chemicals, you will find out why you're vomiting.
Yeah.
It's not bacteria. It has nothing to do with bacteria. That's why the medical, profession and the health departments are so prejudiced. They only look for microbes. They will never blame chemicals because a lot of the chemicals are medical. A lot of the chemicals are, for medication that people are vomiting.
Right.
Codeine. If I looked at codeine, I would vomit. That's why, and most people did the same thing. Back in the 50s, codeine was the thing. So what they did was they had everybody have codeine with milk. And the minerals in milk would bind with some poison to cause vomiting. So they keep taking the codeine instead of getting rid of it. Oh, take this with milk. Only with milk.